Joining me now is Republican strategist and contributor to thehill.com, Gianno Caldwell. Gianno, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Liz.
All right, you heard what Dr. Carson said. He's not at the debate right now. Is this it for him?
Well, first off, I'm at CPAC, super excited about that. And yes, I think that this is totally it for him. Armstrong Williams, his business manager, has said that he's dropping out. There's no path forward for him currently in terms of the delegate count or anything else of that matter. But Dr. Ben Carson is a hero to the Republican Party as well as America. He has an American story, and his voice will not be forgotten even after he drops out the race officially.
Right, and you're right. CPAC looks like it's hopping. Looks like a good time behind you. I can't wait to see you there this weekend.
It is.
It looks amazing. And Dr. Carson's set to speak there.
We're looking forward to seeing you, Liz.
Dr. Carson's set to speak there tomorrow. Do you expect him to officially suspend his campaign at that time?
I believe that's what he's going to do. As you know, I have very close relationships with Armstrong Williams, among others, the folks that are affiliated with this campaign. And I think Armstrong has said publicly in articles that Dr. Ben Carson is dropping out. And I think that it makes sense for him to do that. I think this may be a great opportunity for him to lay a platform to what's next for Dr. Carson, because his voice is extremely important in his political debate. His voice is extremely important to America, and it was one that was much needed in this election. So we don't want him to leave completely. Don't exit stage right altogether. But make sure you let us know your plans forward, and make sure you continue to have a strong voice in American politics, and that's what I'm looking to hear from him tomorrow.
Right, and I'm glad you brought that up, because in his remarks, he said that he sees no political path forward, and I'm wondering if that word political, if that's a keyword or a buzzword, what he meant by that exactly. And maybe he was trying to tease us a little bit to see what he's going to do, because I feel like this whole campaign that he's run has been about spreading his message. It hasn't been about his desire to be president, his political ambitions. It's because he's thought that he would be the best person to spread the conservative message. So I'm interested, like you are, in knowing what he would do next, but I wonder what that will be. Do you expect him to get a position in a future administration? Will he go back to medicine? What do you expect from him?
Well, there was a poll that came out, I believe, 2 days ago that showed that most Republican voters would love to see him as vice president of any other candidate, any other person in America, it appeared. So they were looking for that. I think he would make a great choice in any administration. I think he also could make a great choice when it comes to potentially a run for governor or senator somewhere. I think it would be a great platform for him. I think the values in which he reintroduced to America, because it seems like it's been missing from politics, talking about his faith openly, talking about political correctness, I think it was something that was definitely missing when it comes to politics. And as you know, he had more of the low tone of voice when it came to those issues, and Donald Trump is a whole lot louder when it comes to those issues. That's why Dr. Ben Carson resonated so well when it came to the Republican base, and that's why Donald Trump, him raising the volume a little bit, is doing so well with the Republican base.
Right, and I hope Dr. Carson doesn't stop what he's doing, because he's reached a lot of people. And differing from Donald Trump in this, I don't think there's a single person in America who dislikes Dr. Ben Carson, which makes him a perfect messenger for the conservative message and for his success story, which other people can replicate. And I love when he talks about that. But Gianno, I want to switch topics for a second, talk about this interesting development that happened this morning, and that would be Mitt Romney's speech. He came out and spoke about Donald Trump. We have a video, so let's take a look at it.
Now, I'm far from the first to conclude that Donald Trump lacks the temperament to be president. After all, this is an individual who mocked a disabled reporter, who attributed a reporter's questions to her menstrual cycle, who mocked a brilliant rival who happened to be a woman due to her appearance. Think of Donald Trump's personal qualities: the bullying, the greed, the showing off, the misogyny, the absurd third-grade theatrics. You know, we've long referred to him as the Donald. He's the only person in the entire country to whom we have added an article before his name, and it wasn't because he had attributes we admired.
Gianno, this was like a hit piece from the New York Times, but from a fellow Republican. What did you make of that?
Well, Mitt Romney laid out a case against Donald Trump like a Harvard professor, is what I thought when I saw the video. I find it interesting that many in the Republican base, many of the establishment, have come out so hard against Donald Trump. Not that I agree with everything he says, not that I agree with all of his rhetoric, but I think he's brought up some important issues when it comes to politics and government. Yes, there are some things that he's done wrong. Yes, perhaps he's made some very inappropriate comments in certain areas of conversation. But he's still an important voice. And Mitt Romney, to be an individual whom I worked for in 2012 for his campaign for president, he did lose, and he's kind of critiquing Donald Trump when he accepted his endorsement is kind of odd to me. I wonder if the political establishment is concerned with the fact that Donald Trump cannot be controlled, that Donald Trump is not accepting donations from lobbyists and these other trade association groups, if they're wondering that maybe he's too much of a loose cannon, which I would say he is a loose cannon in a way that you don't know what he's going to say or do, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they're so concerned. One thing that's of interesting note, kind of outside of Mitt Romney, is Hillary Clinton and Democrats say, oh, we would love to run against Donald Trump. But the truth be told, I don't think that's the case.
That's just a bunch of bluff. That's just a bunch of bluff. They're just saying that because they want to lay that out and make it seem like they could easily beat Trump. I think that's an indication that they're scared. But Gianno, do you see this as being like a desperation phone call from the Republican establishment to Mitt Romney saying, help us, we don't know how to stop Donald Trump after his sweeping wins on Super Tuesday? Are they getting to that point?
I think it's twofold. I think it's one in which Donald Trump cannot be controlled. You don't know what he's going to say. He's not a politician. People rather have somebody like Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, which is conservative, but he's not really likable in any way. And I think he would be the easiest one to beat out of all the remaining candidates. I think that the Republican base just want to make sure that either they have somebody that they really believe can win in the general election, which I think that there's a great possibility he can, or somebody that they can really get along with, which any of the other candidates existing in the race, John Kasich, Marco Rubio, or Ted Cruz, if they were to win, they can get along with them. They can't get along with Donald Trump.
And I think that's one of the areas that Republicans as a whole, not just the establishment, not just politicians, but Republicans as a people, as a movement, misunderstand politics in the sense that there's never going to be an ideal candidate unless Jesus comes back. There's never going to be a candidate that every single person who identifies as conservative or Republican or an advocate of small government is going to coalesce behind as someone that they're very excited about. We have to almost be cynical, Gianno, and say, okay, this person is the lesser of the two evils. If we compare Donald Trump to Hillary Clinton, clearly Donald Trump is the lesser of those two evils. But Republicans, they won't admit that.
Right. I mean, you have a point. Like I said, Donald Trump has made some mistakes. The KKK endorsement, not repudiating that as he did previously 2 days prior, is a mistake, but I think it's a pivot point for him, especially considering the fact that he can go and have a conversation on race and talk about the plight of African Americans. So there's room for him to say, hey, I made a mistake, but this is, I disavowed it before, and this is how I feel about this. So I think it's really only up from here when it comes to Donald Trump. And I think, especially considering the polls numbers showing that 20% of Democrats, if it's a head-to-head contest between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump pulls 20% of Democrats to his side. Why? Because he has a message of economic populism. He's talking about taking jobs from China, Mexico. He's talking about those companies that up and leave and go to another country. He's talking about taxing them to bring their products back into the United States. And a lot of Democrats happen to like that message, and it's definitely resonating.
Right. I think you make a good point about everything that he says, even when he doesn't disavow mistakes he's made. It creates an opportunity for himself. And so far, he's been able to capitalize on every single opportunity that's happened. Hopefully, he'll continue to do that if he's going to be the nominee.